In the warm August heat in 1974, 18-year-old Lena drove down the highway in a car packed with clothes, bedding, supplies, and her beloved Jackson 5 poster, heading toward her lifelong dream of becoming the first college graduate in her family. A blue scarf kept her thick curly afro in place as the wind whipped through the window. Her brown eyes beamed as she ran a finger over the small, age worn cracks in the steering wheel while singing The Way We Were by Barbara Streisand, which was playing on the radio. The car was a graduation gift from her parents. It wasn't shiny and brand new, like some of her high school classmates received from their rich parents. It was a little beat up and an odd color green, but sturdy and safe, according to her father. Honestly, Lena did not care what it looked like because she knew her parents had sacrificed to buy it. Despite being a straight A student, her academic achievements did not come easily. While she excelled in math and science, language arts was a struggle. It also didn't help that her parents enrolled her in a high school an hour away from home because it provided the best academic opportunities for college. Despite making friends, going to school where no one looked like her made her feel lonely. Instead of going to the movies or hanging out at the park with her friends on weekends, Lena was studying. Eventually, her dedication paid off. Getting the acceptance letter from the university was the happiest moment of her life. She also won a scholarship that covered half of her tuition. The other half came from her parents. Her father, Henry, worked in construction, and her mother, Pam, worked part time in a clothing store. They had set aside money every month for Lena's education since she was a little girl. After settling in on campus, Lena jumped into her studies with both feet. College was more challenging than expected, but she loved it, making the dean's honor roll in no time. She made new friends, joined a few clubs, and enjoyed an occasional party. During her second year of studies, Lena was more focused than ever and took advantage of every opportunity that the school provided. This morning, she got up earlier than usual to go to the Student Center, where they had posted a list of the 7 students selected for the Special Study Abroad program this upcoming summer. It was a rigorous competition. The applicants had to submit an academic resume and a 10-page essay, followed by an interview before a committee. When Lena arrived, several other students were already there, jostling to get a look at the list. She joined the crowd and eventually saw her name at the bottom. Yes! She pumped her fist, then ran back to her dorm to call her parents to share the good news. She had never been out of the country before and was already planning what sights she wanted to see. Everything was falling into place. If she continued to perform well academically, she could graduate early with honors. Right as she stepped off the elevator onto her floor, the phone in the common area rang. Lena answered and was ecstatic to hear her mother's voice on the line. "Oh, wow, Mom. Perfect timing. I was on my way to call you and Dad. You need to come home right away. Your father has been in an accident and they are taking him into surgery." Pam cried from the other end of the phone, sending Lena into a tizzy. Without delay, Lena stuffed whatever she could into her bag, then set off for the 3-hour drive home. She attempted to pray, the way she saw her grandmother do countless times, but could not get the words out. When she arrived at the hospital, Lena learned that her father had fallen 4 stories at the construction site essentially suffering several fractures and possibly internal bleeding. The thought of losing him sent chills down her spine, causing her to go numb. Her father had always been so strong. She couldn't recall ever seeing him hurt or sick. Lena did her best to stay positive, but found it difficult to keep the disturbing thoughts from overtaking her mind. Hours later, the doctor came out, reporting that the surgery went well, but her father's prognosis was uncertain. Even with therapy and rehabilitation, there was no guarantee that he would fully recover. 2 weeks later, after a quick trip back to campus for an exam, Lena returned to the hospital to visit her father. She walked into the room, happy to see that he was awake. Her mother was already there sitting next to the bed. "I'm glad you're here. We were just talking about you." A sad grin spread across Pam's face. "Oh, what about?" Lena stepped back so she could read her parents' expressions, something she always did when her mother spoke in that tone. "Sweetheart, we have a long road ahead with your father's recovery. The doctor says it could be a year or more before he's back on his feet. But God is faithful, and we believe He is going to heal your father. I believe that with all my heart. But while he's recovering, he'll need all of our support, which means making a few sacrifices to keep this family afloat. So I am going back to work full time." Pam swallowed hard. "And it hurts me to say this, but we won't be able to continue making your college tuition payments right now." Lena's heart dropped. "Well, maybe I can get another scholarship or a part time job." "Honey, I know it's difficult for you to hear, but with me going back to work full time, there will be no one to take care of your little brother and sister, and they are too young to be by themselves. I wish there were another way, but we need you home to look after them. Now, I already called the school, and if you withdraw before the end of the week, they will refund 80% of the payment that your father made, which we need for these medical bills." "But what about studying abroad this summer? And if I withdraw, I'll lose my scholarship." "Just until I'm better." Henry grimaced. Through her tears, Lena could see the pain in her father's eyes, which shattered her heart into 1,000 pieces. Her family meant the world to her, but so did her dream. Letting go of the wonderful life she had built at college was gut-wrenching. Lena nodded her head, knowing what she had to do. "Congratulations." Dave, Lena's neighbor, squeezed her shoulder as he walked by. She smiled and then glanced at the graduation banner that was spread across her living room wall. Warmth radiated from within her. It had been a long journey, but the day was finally here. When her gaze fell on her reflection in the mirror across the room, her smile dropped. The new crop of gray strands around her hairline made her feel old. Where had the time gone? She was no longer the 18-year-old with big dreams, but a married 45-year-old mother caught up in the minutiae of everyday life. After her father's accident years ago, Lena withdrew from her classes and moved back home as her parents requested. She had planned to search for new scholarships that could cover her full tuition because she had every intention of going back as soon as her father got better. With her mother gone most of the time, working two jobs to keep them afloat, Lena immediately jumped in, cooking, cleaning, and taking care of her siblings. But her father's recovery took longer than expected, and with his medical bills, it was truly all hands on deck. While her brother and sister were in school, Lena worked a part time job at the library to help with some expenses. She also helped her father with some of his rehabilitation exercises and took him to doctor's appointments. He eventually recovered, and Lena attempted to go back to college a few times over the years, but somewhere between orthodontist appointments, basketball tournaments, and car notes, her dreams quietly faded into the background. Her children became her life. Their accomplishments became her accomplishments, and their dreams became her own. Even though she was outwardly content with how her life worked out, the quiet longing for what she had missed never went away. Lena held up her camera and snapped a quick picture of her youngest son, Sammy, as he read another graduation card, surrounded by family and friends. She then stole a glimpse of her husband, Chris, across the room, who couldn't hide the sadness on his face. They had successfully raised three sons and were celebrating their youngest son's high school graduation. The finality of the moment rang loudly in her ears. She couldn't help thinking about her life. It seemed like yesterday when she was at her own high school graduation party when her father had presented her with her first car. Now that her youngest son would soon move away to college, Lena wondered what would become of her life now that her children would no longer consume her time. Behind the smile plastered on her face was internal gloom as she watched her baby open his gifts. Sammy picked up a box and announced, "This is the last one, but it's not for me. It's for you, Mom." Lena scrunched her eyebrows. "For me?" she asked while slowly making her way over to Sammy. He handed her the box and kissed her on the cheek. Still confused, she looked at each of her boys and at her husband Chris for answers. Today was Sammy's day, and she didn't understand why they would get her a gift. Her oldest son Todd spoke. "Mom, we got together and picked this out to show our appreciation for all that you do for our family, for all the sacrifices that you have made over the years to make sure that we had everything we needed. We wouldn't be who we are today without you. You taught us to follow our dreams, and now it's time for you to follow yours." Lena opened the box and pulled out a blue and beige JanSport backpack. It was the same color as the one she had in college. She could tell it was vintage, but not as old as the one she had. Sammy put his hand on his mother's shoulder. "It's time to finish what you started and go back to college. But I must warn you, I'm gunning for the crown to be the first in the family to graduate." Overwhelmed, Lena held her hand to her heart, allowing her emotions to bubble over. She had let the dream of becoming a college graduate go a long time ago, but judging from how fast her heart was beating, she knew it had gone nowhere. So many questions raced through her mind. Am I too old to go back to school? Can I do it? So much had changed since she had last gone to school, especially in technology. Is it too late to start over? When she lifted her eyes and saw her father standing in the corner with tears streaming down his face, she knew she had to try. Lena hugged the backpack to her chest. She looked at her Sammy and said, "Game on. May the best woman win." That fall, Lena enrolled in junior college and after completing 2 semesters, earned her associate's degree. She then transferred to a 4-year university and received her bachelor's degree in business management at the age of 48. She did, in fact, beat her son Sammy by 2 weeks and fulfilled her dream of becoming the first person in their family to graduate college. But she didn't stop there. With the momentum she had gained, Lena got her MBA 3 years later at 51. As a child, she had planned to become a nurse, but after completing her education, she went into business for herself, opening a nursing home for the elderly. In this story, we learned that it is never too late to pursue your dreams. Even while facing obstacles, if you persist and don't give up, you can do it. If you have enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share. Thanks for listening.